Welcome back to Indie Cult Horror. This time we have a very special interview with the one, the only Bill Moseley of Texas Chainsaw 2 and House of a Thousand Corpses. Of course, House had a sequel of Devil's Rejects, and the new sequel's coming out very soon, 3 to Hell. But at the time of this interview in 2003, he was very recently off of House. Otis was a huge character for me, but even more importantly, of course, was Chop Top. As you guys know, I'm a Texas Chainsaw fan, and I am of the opinion that Texas Chainsaw 2 is the black comedy that we were all waiting for. Horror fans everywhere, I hope, love this film as much as I do. I know some, when it was initially released, had a very hard time with it, but Chainsaw 2 is Tobe Hooper kind of taking a little bit of a turn from the original Chainsaw, where the first one was all about being grisly and as disturbing as possible. Part 2 continues to be disturbing, but in a very different way, by adding humor, and it's black humor at its best. Oddly enough, I think the older I get, the more I watch this film, the kind of bleaker it feels and less funny, but I do love the character of Chop Top. I think Bill Moseley was an excellent addition to the cast. You know, along with the cook, Sawyer, just works off each other wonderful, and of course their, interactions with Leatherface are perfect. Moseley brought so much of himself to this character, it's crazy. As a diehard fan of horror and specifically Texas Chainsaw, he was perfect, and it's kismet that him and Hooper got together. I know within this interview he's going to tell the story of how that happens, so I'm not going to ruin that for you, but I do hope you enjoy this. If you're not as familiar with Bill Moseley's work, of course he was also Johnny in the Night of the Living Dead 90 remake, the iconic character originally portrayed by Russ Striner. He was in many other films, not to mention the smaller roles, like in Army of Darkness. He had a small role as the captain of the Deadite Army. He was in Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, 2001 Maniacs, many horror films. Repo is another one that came out after this interview that I think is an excellent movie, and he was a great character for. The crux of this interview is going to focus on Chainsaw 2 and, the origin of the Otis character from House of a Thousand Corpses and working with Rob Zombie and Tobe Hooper. I do want to preface this interview with, I know from our last interview we saw Kevin Van Hentenryck outside at Chiller Theater, and it's a little noisy, but on top of that, this is also shot at night, so it's a little dark. It's a little noisy, but I hope you stick around. Moseley's an awesome person to listen to tell stories. He's great, gets very into it. I will say that last episode, there might be some confusion between last episode and this episode as to the actual date of the 2003 Chiller Theater Convention in October. I think I had kind of posted it as the week before, but memory serves that this interview was done on Halloween night, so my date last week might have been a little bit off. But so, either way, this is definitely the 2003 October Chiller Theater interview with Bill Moseley. Enjoy. Alright, if you could just say hi, introduce yourself.
Hello, Bill Moseley.
Okay. Well, first off,
child star.
Well, the first question is, it's kind of not necessary, but you're a fan of horror, right?
I am a fan of horror. I love horror. I've always been a horror fan ever since I was a little kid. I would have to say that actually fear was my first drug of choice. And when I was a kid, I was banned by my strict religious parents from watching horror movies. And of course, I would sneak in after everybody had gone to bed late at night to watch. I grew up in the Chicagoland area, so we had something called Shock Theater at midnight. And I would watch Shock Theater, and I would watch things like Creature from Blood Beach and Killer Shrews and all kinds of old, scary black and white movies. Black Scorpion. And it used to freak me out. I would be scared. Our house creaked. And I would get frightened and just love it. Except when I had to turn off the TV and go back to my room. That was the moment. The upside and the downside.
Next, what about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I was working on a ranch in Wyoming back in '83 or '4, I think. Summer job on a ranch, and I was working with a kid who had a Sugar Jones and would just get in, he would like pour down the mellow yellow and eat a bunch of Mars bars. He'd go cuckoo. He'd go cuckoo on the sugar. One day he was just lathering and squeaking and chirping away as we were chopping wood. And all of a sudden, out of his blather came the words, "Texas Chainsaw Manicure." And I heard it, and I went, and an idea went off, like a little light bulb went off in my head. And went back to my little cowboy cabin and wrote a 5-minute script for the Texas Chainsaw Manicure. About someone who goes into a beauty parlor and wants a manicure and ends up getting a manicure from Leatherface. And I came back to New York and I shot that. And I did a little cameo as the hitchhiker. So I sent a copy of the manicure to Toby Hooper, who watched it and loved it, and on the basis of my cameo as the hitchhiker, hired me as Chop Top. I never auditioned for Chop Top, all thanks to the manicure.
So were you a big fan of the original Chainsaw, or was that just...
Scared the crap out of me. And I went to Yale. I mean, I was a smart guy. Past tense. And it really bothered me for some reason. It really freaked me out. I guess because I thought I could kind of communicate with anybody, but I saw those guys, I just thought, these are freaked out guys that I would never be able to communicate with. And strangely enough, that fear led me to joining the family.
So how did it feel, like being inside it then? How, like,
it felt really good. It felt very safe and comfortable because we were the monsters, so nobody could really get us because we're the monsters.
What was it like working with Sutter after knowing the first movie so well?
That really made me so happy. I first saw Jim in the parking lot of the Brook Hollow Motor Inn in Austin, Texas, the day after I arrived and started shooting Chainsaw 2. And I just saw him and I went, "It's the cook!" I mean, it was just came out of me. It was so exciting. I just loved Jim Cena. He told me some funny, kind of dirty jokes. Totally exciting, and just love him. Then I later met his wife Ruth, who's also just a fantastic person, and really nice people. Of course, all these monsters are. That's the weird part about it.
And what was it like working with Toby Hooper?
Toby was just a total delight. I had never been in a movie anything nothing as big as Chainsaw 2. Toby was into it because Toby, when I first met Toby, I was in full Chop Top makeup. Tom Savini, King of Splatter, who designed the makeup, was showing me off to Toby. Toby walked in. I'd never met him before. I never auditioned for Toby. He hired me on the basis of the manicure, but I never really laid eyes on him before. Walked in, saw me in the makeup chair in Austin. Tom Savini said, "Hey Toby, this is Chop Top. What do you think?" And Toby walked over and he looked at me and he said, "Well, I think it needs a little more pus on his plate." And Savini went, "Clear or amber?" And Toby went, "Amber," and then walked away. And I thought, he knows his shit.
Quite the introduction.
I have total confidence.
So you liked working with Savini too, then?
Yeah, oh yeah, I love it. They shaved my head, first thing they did, and then they put me in a bunch of head molds and body molds. I'm also the Muppet. Now in Chainsaw 2, I carry around the mummified remains of Ed Neal, the hitchhiker from the original. And to cast the body of the Muppet, they did a complete body build on me. So I'm like the Muppet, the Top Top, a lot of different things. So I spent a lot of time with Tom Savini and the makeup shop that I called the House of Pain. And it was a lot of fun working with him. A lot of the guys on his makeup crew went on to do a lot of great makeups in their own right. John Vulich, Mitch Devane, Gino Crognale, Sean McEnroe, Gabe Bartalos. They were all part of that crew. They all went on to do really cool makeup stuff on their own. It was a fateful bunch. They had a lot of fun to work with. Complete psychos.
Speaking of Savini, how did Night of the Living Dead come about for you?
He called me up and said he had gotten the job from George, and he called me up and said, do you want to be in Night of the Living Dead? And I said, shit, yeah. So he sent me a script and said, pick any character you want. So I picked the character on the basis, I wanted to be Tommy Toll's character, the guy, Carl Hartman, the guy in the basement. And, as it turned out, thanks a lot. And as it turned out, and I picked the character on the basis of who worked the most so that I would get the most money. And I told Tom I want to be the guy in the basement. He said, no, pick any character, but just make sure it's Johnny. So that's how I got the job. I went, okay. So I went and I rented Die Monster Die just to get my Boris Karloff accent down. And went out to Washington, PA and shot Night of the Living Dead. Really had a ball.
I heard there was a lot of problems on that set. I know Savini has said he's not really happy with that film. How'd you feel about the finished film when it came out?
I thought it's great. I like it. Yeah. I mean, I think it probably could have been better if there was another couple $1 million in the budget. I don't know. I mean, they were a little bit. I think Edwin Skolnick Globus from the Canon Films days. It reincarnated as 21st Century Communications. And they were a little tight with the nickel, so I'm sure that, especially if Tom had a little more dough, there probably would have been a few more exploding heads. But the makeups were really cool. It's cool to see the zombies get all hacked up, and I love the one that gets hit by a truck and then it's like crawling on the lawn with his legs all bent up. Yeah, I like that stuff.
I wanted to ask, what was your involvement with Army of Darkness?
Sam Raimi was a fan of Chop Top, and I sent him a letter because I was a big fan of Evil Dead 2, and so I communicated with him, and we ended up getting together at Musso and Frank's, an old Hollywood restaurant on the Hollywood Boulevard, and Sam was doing Evil Dead 3 Army of Darkness, and so I got the job of the new captain of the Deadite Army. And for that, I did a lot of sword fight training and horseback riding. And I ended up working for a long time in that movie, even though I don't even know if I'm in the movie. But I get residuals, and I have a credit. But, I didn't really seem to do a whole hell of a lot. I rode a horse. I led the successful charge on the castle. And I enjoyed Bruce Campbell up close and personal.
Well, so that's reward enough, right? See, that's the experience of the day.
It was a great experience.
So, my next question is obviously House of a Thousand Corpses. How did you get in touch did Rob Zombie get in touch with you? Or?
I was emceeing as Chop Top. I was emceeing a horror award show at Universal City Walk in outside of Los Angeles, and I had a friend that was the publicist for Universal City Walk, so he knew that I was a monster. So he invited me to MC the show. So I came as Chop Top in a tuxedo. And one of the award recipients, unbeknownst to me until we actually did the show, was Rob Zombie. So Rob came out I was handing him this little horror statue. And he freaked out because he realized it was the real Chop Top. So he ended up, we talked a little bit backstage, and then about a month later, Universal bought the script for House of a Thousand Corpses. And so really 6 weeks after I met him, I got a call from his manager, Andy Gould, asking if I'd be interested in being in Rob's movie. And I said, yeah. So I was the first one hired. And I was really glad to hear that, in fact, Rob had written the script and he had based the character of Otis on Chop Top, me as Chop Top. So the right man got the job.
So how much were you allowed to kind of give and take on the script? Was there much improv or?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
So, but how much is, so?
There was a lot of improv in Chop Top. There wasn't much in Otis. But fortunately, Otis was written so well that, you didn't really have to make too much up.
Did it feel to you at all like an evolution of a character, like a next stage maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. And the difference was, the difference between Otis and Chop Top was all in the shoulders. So there was a lot of, hey, lick my plate. There was a lot of, Chop Top, very sketchy and up here. Otis was a real ass-kicking cowboy, and it was all in the groin. His thumbs looped into the belt buckle, it was scratching the belly, it was all kind of forward. Hey, fuck you. So it was definitely a different character, different part of the body, different focus, center, if you will, different attitude, both psychotic. Chop Top is a lot more funny and friendly in a way. Otis takes him a while to get warmed up, but he's got a pretty good sense of humor too. And Otis obviously is sculpture and painting and Chop Top's music, so.
It's all about the arts.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, throughout the kind of like the hard period of House, after the filming is done and post-production and everything that goes on forever, you're a pretty strong advocate for pushing with the film. I mean, you're always out there. I mean, I know you were here 2 years ago talking about it. So after all the struggle of getting the movie finally out there, how'd you feel in the end? I mean, were you happy with the version that hit the theaters and just the whole?
I'd be crazy to say no. Yeah, I think it's a rockin' good movie. It's a movie that I've been able to watch. Probably seen it 6 or 7 times, and I really enjoy it each time. It's not something that gets real stale. It's something that I just continue to enjoy it, for different reasons. That's a good sign. I'm really excited about doing another one. It feels like now that we finally got all of that, all the difficulties out of the way, I know Otis. I think doing the next one is going to be a completely different experience. So everybody's going to be ready to go from day one. We're not going to have to wander in the wilderness for 3 years.
I just have one last question. If you want to try and squeeze that in, or if you want to get these guys first, it's up to you.
Make it quick.
Okay. Aside from doing the next House project, any dream project that you'd like to work on?
Well, I've always wanted to be Edward in King Lear. Poor Tom's a cold.
Yes.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add? Or?
Get your corn bugs.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hope you enjoyed the interview with Bill Moseley, and there's a lot more yet to come from the vaults of indie cult horror. See you next time. Thanks.